Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter, News Nerds Need on Twitter, CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 1agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings in the city that really does never sleep.
Is Brooklyn in the house? Without a doubt. Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn.
Indeed. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, the CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. Well, folks, another week. You may or may not have just seen or heard or both of the last show, which came out probably a couple of days as of this recording. So this is another one of those weeks.
Right.
You know, partially due to movie protocol, partially due to me getting to it kind of late. But regardless, hey, enjoy both. But we're going to kick this off and get to running because we don't have any new shows this week yet, and Invincible doesn't come out until Friday, so we can't talk about that until next week. That's always great.
Right.
We're going to start off with books with Fantastic Four number 13.
So this week's Fantastic Four number 13 is written by Ryan North with art by Ivan Coelho, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So if you thought that we were going to get something other than a direct follow-up to the cliffhanger page from the last issue, in which we saw T-Rex Dr. Doom making an entrance, guess what? You were absolutely mistaken. We got immediately following what happens immediately following that really great entrance in that on that cliffhanger page from the last issue, and we get to see Ben Grimm, both Ben's Grimm. I kind of liked the way Ryan North wrote the plural in there, the way that both Ben's Grimm in this issue used their ever-loving noggins to put together a stratagem to ultimately foil the Doctor's doom.
Indeed, no rocks in their heads for this plan they've cooked up. It's
right.
Just a matter of knowing your people, knowing who you're dealing with, and using that to your advantage.
Absolutely. Talk about having like a scouting report developed over, like hundreds of, issues of previous encounters, right?
Right. And it makes sense because if you fought somebody that many times, you should at least know something about them. And or not leave it to the person you would think knows them slightly better, that being Reed Richards. Right. Like at this point, all of them pretty much got some pretty some pretty good intel on the dude. So one, I love this cover. It's Dr. Doom riding a dino Dr. Doom.
Sure.
You ain't gonna see that too many times. And that's pretty great. And what happens inside is also, in its own right, pretty great. Cause you see, this whole, so first of all, I was like, wait, did we do the whole, merging of worlds thing, around Secret Wars? So I was like, Victor, did you not really remember this or something? Like, I get it. It's a slightly different thing, or maybe I guess he wasn't a part of that particular thing. Now that I think about it, because I just remember that. But regardless, like, wait, we kind of did this before. Is the main thing, but it doesn't really matter because the things happen, and I found it the other thing was I found it kind of funny that our Earth's Avengers was having a time with the Dino FF that they were fighting against until Ben kind of came along. So it's like
Right, and cursed at them.
right.
Quite literally cursed at.
Exactly. What would Aunt Petunia say?
So I just very quickly on the cover, I kind of hope that they do a poster of this cover because it is an Alex Ross cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really cool looking.
Yeah, I would probably get that if that were the case. I could see that because it is if you're watching the video version, you can see said cover. So if you don't know what we're talking about, and I haven't switched over to any variants just yet, but it's a pretty good cover. That's enough said about that and the issue itself. Potential click of the week for myself, I will say, because it was pretty good. And then I guess with the next issue that the last page kind of tease, I guess we're folding back to that whole we're at the end of the year thing, and so we're gonna see what the kids are up to, or at least getting to that point.
Right, kind of folding them back into the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how. I guess what I will do is be patient and wait to see how Ryan North pulls this off and how he executes this story, because it's most certainly a contrived way of separating the parts of the family from each other so that we can reestablish why Ben and Alicia are fun together, why the FF, the core group of the FF, are fun together, and why they matter, and keeping the future foundation and the children away from them really gives everyone room to breathe a little, and also gives North some space to, like you said, find out what these kids have been up to since they've been away from their parents for so long.
Right.
So it's definitely an interesting storytelling mechanism that he's using here to give everyone space, and then put them in newer, I guess more even evolved or just different spaces, and then bringing them back together to see how they interact.
Right. And it as crass as this might sound, it's a good way to let's just say extend your run.
That's one way to think about it. Yeah, that's one way to think about it.
Which, I mean, again, as we have said in the past, we come from an era where there were long runs of books. So,
right. And
that doesn't happen as much these days. So, when you get a book past 12, depending on the character, 12 to 25 issues, you kind of, you kind of saying something these days. Because not a lot of people get the chance to get their story all the way out, and I don't know what Ryan North and Crew's full story is, but hey, I've been enjoying it so far. Unless let me rephrase that, unless you're a Spider-Man, because clearly that that has been going on a good bit and has I guess has some potentially interesting legs. We don't know what that gang war stuff is. But
yeah, we don't know. We try not to mention that Zeb-Wells story unless we have to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, but it is a thing, and it is a thing. So that being said, we can push on to the next book we have in common, of which we have a few. Uncanny Avengers #4, I believe, of 5. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Uncanny Avengers #4 of 5 is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Javier Garrón, colors by Maury Hollowell, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So everyone, raise a glass, give a round of applause to Roddykat for figuring out who is behind the Captain Krakoa helmet. He called it a long time ago, folks, and it was a sucker bet indeed if you bet against Roddykat on this one, because it was a pretty good guess.
Well, let's put it this way: my odds have not always ever been in my favor. So the one or two times that that I can score a win, I will take it. But nah, that is not why I wanted to bring this up. Outside of the fact that, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who figured that out. But also the issue in itself was actually pretty good. There were things about it. Wait, did you do the creative team yet before?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right. Because I was doing something else, so pardon me. But there were a couple of things that kind of, I guess, further this part of the story and might actually lend into some other parts of the X story. Like it seems to be the case, or at least a turning point in the X corner of the universe in certain ways. So, but basically, hey, we like I just said, we find out who's underneath the Captain Krakoa mask. Dr. Stasis's whole part in this might be slightly unraveling, partially thanks to Ben Urich. There was an Immortal X-Men reference in there that was probably not for nothing, but probably nothing. And yeah, the Unity team was kind of out there fighting the fight and taking down one part of Orcus's plan. It's not the big part, but it is I'm sure it's going to lead into more parts. Going into and out of whatever the fall of X, Rise of X, or whatever the case it is, that's going forward. So yeah, and like I said, it is the fourth issue of 5, and this is probably one of the other time that I could say La Shmoove, the Blob ain't got nothing to prove.
Oh no.
Because that was kind of a thing in there. Also, we got 2 fastball specials this week, which is kind of funny. One that we didn't get to see the start of, and the other one, actually, I'm not sure if we saw the start of the other one either. But, or wait, was it? Either way, there was fastball special is a thing. But this one that was in this issue kind of actually came out of nowhere. And it wasn't by name, but it was like I'm like, okay, Cap. I don't know who made that plan up, but sure, that was a thing going into this. But yeah, it was a, like I said, fun issue coming out of this. Also, I have in my notes, it was like, well, Captain Krakoa was hiding out of Camp Lehigh, and Cap was going to be real upset about that. And the next day he finds out. So I'm like, oh, okay, they didn't drag this out. Cool.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that. That was funny.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was Uncanny X-Men, unless Agent 7's got something else on it.
No, I'm actually eager to move on to the last book that we have in common. I mean, it's not the last book that we have in common, but it's the last book we're going to speak about in depth in common. And that being Immortal Thor #4, which is this week written by Al Ewing with art by Martin Coccolo, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So I encouraged Roddykat this afternoon and this evening to catch up on Immortal Thor, because I've been up on this since Jump, and Roddykat's been kind of lagging behind after I think the first issue.
Actually, I was not as far back as I thought I was. It was only I had not read the last issue, so it wasn't. So
right,
it wasn't,
so 3. Yeah. Right, so you're only behind on 3, right? But I remember having to tell you to read 2. Like, I don't think you read it that week, but you eventually, had gotten to the point where you read 2 just when 3 came. You hadn't gotten to it yet. That I kind of remember, because I remember we both talked about issue #1 on the same show.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been very enthusiastic about this initial part of Al Ewing's run, and one thing that I mentioned to Roddykat is that I'm a fan of the old way of having Thor be scripted and having him speak, right? The very kind of stilted Shakespearean way of expressing, Thor's dialogue on the page and even in your mind as you read it, right? Al Ewing's not doing that exactly, but there are hints of it. It's in the cadence, it's in the rhythm, it's in certain parts of how Thor is written now. It's interspersed in there in splashes of like the modern way of Thor speaking and being written. So I like the balance that he's struck so far. And this issue saw Thor using, much like Ben Grimm or the Ben's Grimm in the FF issue, using his noggin and not necessarily telling everyone what the plan is, but working with Loki, or at least this version of Loki, in order to enact a plan to deal with Taurenos, this new big bad that Al Ewing has brought forth for this initial run of Immortal Thor, and a concept that basically united the entirety of the Comic Book Chronicles hosts, our entire host panel, way back during the Secret Wars era, the Hickman Secret Wars era, was reborn in the pages of this issue in a different form, but with the same name, with the same concept, really. Pretty and much, yeah. Bottom line, it was pretty rousing. And if you thought that this would be a candidate for Click of the Week for me, you're damn right.
And for myself as well. So, and I say kudos to Agent 70, because when he mentioned it, he didn't give me anything about it. He was just like, yeah, you don't want to. And now sometimes he does, so it's like suggest a book that he's read that was like, pretty good that he didn't give. Oh my God. And we both do it for each other and the others of our crew. But I figured when he mentioned it to me, there had to been a particular reason as to why, but I wasn't entirely sure then. And plus I had to read issue 3 again, and pretty much at the end of season issue 3, I was like, okay, I'm seeing something forming here. And then at the beginning of 4, I was like, oh, I see where they're going here. But I was not expecting for them to evoke that particular naming convention in this. And I admit to Agent 70, as a matter of fact, I messaged him right after I finished him very gleefully when I read the book of that, because yes, there is no shortage of enthusiasm and love for the Thor miniseries and 2015 Secret Wars, which again, if you haven't read it, read it. You don't necessarily need to read Secret Wars for that, but hey, it was good stuff.
And I would say, you don't really need to know that much about Thor, but it does help to have a background in like basic Thor story, because we're 4 issues in and Al Ewing is definitely mining a lot of the classic Thor stuff. There's a lot of classic stuff that he's kind of not retconning, but undoing to a certain extent, or at least reviving older concepts, as flashbacks, as temporary changes of status in this issue, in order to help give Thor literally more Thors to help combat the threat of Taurenos.
Right. And the way they did it was really familiar for anyone who has played a game of Street Ball. I would say. I think it's safe to say that. So that was a pretty fun bit. And it's Al Ewing. We love we have for quite a while loved Al Ewing stuff that just got cemented when he did Immortal Hulk. So
right.
Al Ewing continued to be damn good.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying Al Ewing continued to be a damn good writer.
Sure. And at the end, right, the cliffhanger at the end of the issue is very interesting because it brings back a concept from the Jason Aaron run.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, we haven't seen this character in a while.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, because I remember seeing that character in a couple of was like, what are we doing here? I'm like, and the whole slightly meta reference.
Yeah, very metatextual references. Yeah.
Yeah, that this character mentions during this one. I'm like, that's going to be interesting. So yeah, definitely. If you're not reading Immortal Thor and you have any kind of affinity for either Ewing's writing and or the character Thor or both, check this out. Some good stuff.
Definitely fun.
Yeah.
Definitely fun right now. All right. So I think those are the 3 books we're going to focus on. Is it all right if I start the rapid fire review section?
Spin it up.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Rapid fire reviews, folks. First up is Killadelphia number 31. It's written by Rodney Barnes, with art by Jason Sean Alexander and Herman Aramuspe, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Marshall Dillon. So it's hard to hold secret which Image Comics character appeared at the end of last issue. I did not mention it, but this character is front and center on the cover. That being Todd McFarlane's Spawn. And Rodney Barnes has brought the character into the Killadelphia universe, or has brought the Killadelphia universe into the Spawn corner of the Image Comics universe. I spoke to Rodney Barnes at New York Comic Con, and he, mentioned a few things about the future, and he was very much thankful to be able to bring in Spawn into this book. And I thought this issue was okay. I'm still trying to figure out how it all fits together. But I also see now that in the backup story that is teased as part of being like a new self-published thing that Rodney Barnes is putting forth, I see now how he's looking to expand and maybe do spin-offs of the Killadelphia mythos and in that corner of the Image Comics universe.
So real quick before you go on, I sent Agent 77 something that I think has to do with the backup story, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
That was from Rodney Barnes' Substack. Now, there's a funny story I'm going to say real quick about the character name that is. So the character's name is Johnny Gatlin. And if anyone who has played the Saints Row video game series that sounds familiar with, is not the same character, but it just sounds the same. So I was like, wait, they put Johnny Gat in Killadelphia, and I kind of wonder if Rodney Barnes kind of thought about that or something, or I don't know, or it's just a coincidence because of what the character does, I guess.
Right. So. All right. Next up, Alpha Flight number 4 of 5 is written by Ed Brisson with art by Scott Godlewski, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So Roddykat and I both read this. And this is the penultimate issue of this mini series that ties into the fall of X, just prior to the new version of Hoxpox, right? And in this issue, there is a very well-worn trope of somebody screwing things up for everybody else because they're being selfish. That's just part of life. Someone has to think of themselves only and chooses not to think of the safety and welfare of the rest of the group. And so the rest of the group gets screwed, right? It's not the first time. It will never be the last time you see it because it is part of the human condition. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not going to work.
Right. And actually,
it didn't matter who the character was. No, I was just going to say, it didn't matter who the character was as long as that was the actual story mechanism. I understood what was going on.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Yeah, and you saw that one coming because that character kind of had been buzzing about through this whole series. So it was that. But you mentioned tropes. And I'm like, yeah, there is another one in more relation to Alpha Flight that is also that we found out about last issue that still kind of plays into this one, in which at the end of last issue we found out who is going by the name Nemesis now, and of course. It would not be either this character or one of the main characters of this book. It would. There's always a new secret identity. There's always a new superhero.
Right. It's not going to be like some rando member of Gamma Flight or Beta Flight. So, right. I understand where Roddykat is coming from on this one. So. Alrighty, next up is Black Panther #6. It's written by Eve L. Ewing with art by Matt Horak and Mac Chater, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So this is an an issue that focuses on the origin of, I guess, the new or the current big bad of this Black Panther arc. That being not the White Wolf, because the White Wolf is a very different character, but the Gray Wolf. And I'm like, oh, okay, we couldn't find another animal. We couldn't call him the Gray Okapi or something. You know, I got a little bit of Attack on Titan on the brain. That's why Okapi like popped into my head just now. But bottom line is that's what the focus of this issue is. And if you're in the least bit interested in how Eve Ewing is establishing some of the lore that surrounds other parts of Wakanda that she's exploring, because a very present piece of information that's in this run of books so far is a map of Wakanda showing where Birnin T'Chaka is in relation to Birnin Zana, the capital city of Wakanda, and some of the other cities that probably will play a role in the storytelling and kind of serve to be kind of mirrors to real world issues of immigration, migration, and dealing with expats in a foreign land. So it's that's an ever present thing in our society and in our world right now, and it is definitely present in the pages of Black Panther.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I really, realistically, while that is all of that is true, I didn't think about that just like that. I was just like, well, this is just a holdover from Coates' run, because he did that exact same thing. Well, by having the map in most issues of thing. But yeah, this one, in this case, there is another use of it. So, but yeah, I was just going to say real quick that we find out that the big bad is the big bad's origin is tied to something, I guess so one would say intrinsic to the Black Panther in a way, or a couple of things in a way that we're going to find out. I was
saying it's very MCU Killmonger to a certain extent.
There is also that too. So yeah, and actually, and also something out of Coates' run, because it was like, because the start of the start of the issue was basically a tale from an older Black Panther, but if you think about what happened in the last part of not Coates' run, sorry, John Ridley's run, something similar kind of happened, and kind of led into the end of that book. So it was like, okay, so they're kind of taking a little bit of something of that and a little bit of this, and kind of blending that into something. So where Eve L. Ewing is going with this, we'll see. But as so far, it's still interesting. Oh. Continue.
All right. Next up is Daredevil #3. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with pencils by Aaron Cooter and Fareed Karami, inks by Cam Smith and Fareed Karami, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. This Daredevil run, coming off of the way Zdarsky ended his run and the way Saladin Ahmed has picked it up so far, is lots of fun. The concept is great. Matt Murdock, mild spoilers here, has almost literally been reincarnated as a Catholic priest, but he has now retained or regained his memories as Daredevil, and little bits of the Daredevil mythos are slowly coming back into play in this book, slowly but surely. It's almost inevitable that the character that makes an appearance at the end of this issue is going to come back. But I still like the idea that they finally put the priest's collar on Matt Murdock, and I think they're going to let it play for a while. I really appreciate this kind of different take on Matt Murdock's character, and like something like that was just almost too obvious to do. I don't know why they hadn't done it before. Alrighty. I don't have much left. After this is just Jean Grey #4 of 4. It is written by Wheezy Louise Simonson, art by Bernard Chang, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. I won't say too much about this issue because I know Roddykat is going to read it. Ultimately, though, we know how this all wraps into or ties into what's going on in the pages of Immortal X-Men and the current Fall of X storyline. So, is it crucial? Kind of, because it's important to see how Jean Grey goes from here into the rest of the X-Men corner of the Marvel universe. So I think it's pretty important to read, but it's more like it's something that could be covered, not in a whole 4-issue limited series, but it's good that that Marvel and the X-Men editorial group gave Wheezy, Simonson some room to explore the Jean Grey character under her watch, because a lot of the stuff that Jean Grey underwent occurred when Wheezy was editing the X-Men books or writing X Factor. So she is very familiar with a lot of the events that are portrayed in the 4 issues of this limited series. Not just from the writer's perspective, but also from the editorial perspective. So I'm very much happy that they gave her this book to explore the Jean Grey character and the Jean Grey history. So that is it for my rapid fire books.
Alrighty, and as I take up the rock, we take it over to the vampire side of the Marvel Universe with Blade number 5, written by Brian Edward Hill, or just going by Brian Hill at this point. So I don't know why I keep doing his whole name, but hey, art by Elena Casagrande, color artist KJ Diaz, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So after what I almost kind of forgot what happened at the end of the last issue happened, Blade is kind of upset by things. He was already upset because he unloosed this ancient evil on the world that's kind of starting to wreak havoc, but and also got Doctor Strange kind of riding him for it, and that continues in this issue as something happens at the end of the last issue, and Blade has to get a recount of what's going on from Doctor Strange because of it, leading Blade to really want to go after the big bad in this book again, named the Adana, which he does, but fails to do so. But fails to end things, which brings him to have to kind of reassess and actually basically in almost shonen fashion need to train and get more powerful, which sends him to the most unlikely of sources to get some training, especially if you're Blade. And that's all I will say about that. Next up, though.
Did he go to Aunt May to learn how to make wheat cakes? I'm kidding.
No, that was his mid stop. He went there before he went to.
Yeah.
Next up, though, is Astonishing Iceman. Number 4. Oh, come on, come back here. Where are you going? Oh, douche. There we go. Written by Steve Orlando, art by Vincenzo Caratu, color artist Hava Tatagli and Chris Sotomayor, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So, folks, if you're watching the video version, you can see one source of excitement for myself for this issue, because 2/3 of the Amazing Spidey and his amazing friends are together again, because sometimes you just can't help but enjoying that. But yeah, Spidey kind of pops in to kind of help out because there's this Genoshan that was being hunted by Orcus, but it ends up being a trap for Iceman, and apparently of which that trap had been sprung, and at the end of this issue will lead Bobby into a rematch with someone that he's already fought, but with the fact that he's been found out, his home base has been found out, and the person Bobby cares about has kind of been well, not necessarily taken out, but it looks like they're not gonna be able to help. Let's just put it that way. So, and at the end of this, Bobby seems to be almost stretching at his limits of being corporeal. So we're gonna see how that rolls out. On the other side of that, we see the Vulture, who we've seen most recently in Uncanny Spider-Man, who has a pet project with Orchis himself, and that project was actually part of the trap. As the Vulture and his one middle manager, as they call him, kind of verbally spar for a second. So that was kind of amusing. But yeah, we'll see how this ends up for Bobby Drake in the next issue. And last for myself is not a book that I've read, but is one that I'm going to actually bring up because, well, read recently, I should say. Is actually going to. I'm debating about going back and reading the whole run, which that feels like a fool's errand at this point.
That's a lot of books.
It is a lot of books, and the reason, and I will tell you why I'm bringing it up in a second, because G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, #1 was reissued this week from Skybound Comics. If you're watching the video version, you can see the recreation of the original Marvel cover, but with the Skybound banner up the top. There's also a variant cover that's pretty great with Cobra in a similar pose, which I think I did get. Yes, I did. Boom. And if you're watching the video version, you are seeing that at this point. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it is a reissue of that source, of that material, excuse me. But the reason why this is kind of significant, from what I've read, and I don't remember it well enough to say that I remember it, so is that this has been reissued with Larry Hama's original dialogue that was never published. So
right.
So what came out in the Marvel book is supposedly not all in what's in this particular issue. So if that is something of interest to you, then that might be something you might want to look into. The other reason is also that G.I. Joe Real American Hero has, which if folks did not know, is with Transformers and, over at Skybound, and 301, which is where, weirdly enough, where Real American Hero left off at IDW with 300, is back now at Skybound, continuing the story, that Larry Hama and crew was doing over there. So as far as I know, ain't nothing changed about that book, but I'm not up on it outside, and there's a lot of new characters and a lot of things that book has been going through since the original Marvel run. So,
right.
But that is an undertaking that one of these days might happen, but it won't be anytime soon. But and there is, of course, the cover to G.I. Joe Real American Hero 301, which is also a similar cover to the other two covers that I mentioned, but with wildly different characters. Well, not wildly different, I should say, but just a lot of different characters who was not in the original issue. So. Okay. And that, folks, is it for me, Kliqs of the Week.
Kliqs of the Week! Yeah, mine's easy. Immortal Thor #4.
Okay. Pull that back up then.
Yeah, Immortal Thor #4 is it for me. I did enjoy Daredevil #3. I enjoyed Fantastic Four #13. Those are probably my top 3 books of the week. It was a nice, fun read. Nice, set of fun reads this week.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not surprised by this because, one, we glowed about it, and two, yeah. And I'm just going to go ahead and give Dirt's Kliq of the Week because that's what I was actually preparing for before Agent 70 went in, which is good because I kind of should have figured that. Time Before Time, number 29, excuse me. It is the last issue of that series. And I am wildly not caught up on it, even though I was reading that book. And that's the book you kind of have to devote some time, because it's a little dense. Because even if you're reading it, month to month, there's a lot going on in that book. As a matter of fact, as Agent 70, as Dirk says. So he says, sorry to see it go. It's confusing at times because time travel, but often so good. And yeah, he's right about that, because this has been a good book when reading it, but it does get a little, as the Whovians would say, timey-wimey. So I wasn't sure whether the book was ever going to come to an end, but I suspect it was going to at some point. So, this is kind of out of the blue for me. So I had to get around to it when I get a chance. But for my click of the week, I'm going with Age of 70. Immortal Thor, number 4. I mean, Fantastic Four was great. Uncanny was all right. But yeah, there was nothing that I've read so far, and I still have a few other books to check out, which I might mention in a little bit, to read. But Immortal Thor number 4 was so great. And I want to, before we move on, I want to mention that there are some new books that just came out, like Outsiders number 1 from DC, that seem interesting. Speed Force number 1 from DC. World's Finest Teen Titans. Oh no, I need to catch up on the last one. And I think Green Lantern number 5 I didn't get a chance to read. And there's a couple other books, because I think Children of the Vault was the last issue this week, but neither one of us read it. And Superior Spider-Man actually started this week, and neither one of us had a chance to read it. But if there's something significant we need to check out in that book, maybe we'll mention it next week. And also, Saladin Ahmed's Terror War number 7 came out this week, which is a book I've been up on, but I didn't get a chance to read. So, yes, this was a pretty packed week going into next week's holiday. So, get to them if you can. And with that, folks, we're going to get into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we get into cinematic news as we do about this time. First off, yes, this has been the news lately, but hey, I guess it's still worth noting. But The Marvels wins box office, the first weekend box office, but has the worst MCU opening weekend of all time. Since this article's come out, that has kind of changed a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. But also worth noting here is that The Marvels also debuted, well, according to this other article, the Marvels debuted 110 million worldwide and had the best opening weekend for a movie by a black female director. And that has not been getting any kind of press, so felt it necessary to bring that up. So, next up.
Director Nia DaCosta has been doing promotion for the Marvels, of course, but questions about the film's ties to X-Men lore have been brought up, and leading fans to view it. So naturally, someone asked Nia DaCosta what her dream X-Men related project would be, and it turns out it would focus on the two most famous leaders of the mutant team, Cyclops and Storm.
Yes.
There's a very specific era of the X-Men in which there is, and it's been rekindled over the years, but there's a specific era that I think of when it comes to Storm coming into her own as the leader and kind of taking it on, or taking it from the hands of Cyclops.
Yes, which is the specific era Agent 70 is talking about. I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing it either. I also wouldn't mind seeing the next wave movie with Tiana Paris, but that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, right. Hey, spoilers if you still haven't seen the Marvels, by the way, which is something we didn't get a chance to talk about when we did our spoiler-free recap. The Marvels reveals the truth about Ms. Marvel's bangles. And I'm slightly disappointed because that's the part that, well, we knew about it because we watched the movie, and I'm saying I'm disappointed is because we had an idea of what the deal was with the bangles, and I think we were right about that because it was only one of two things it could have been.
Right.
And it ended up being the one thing that we thought about, but also, spoiler alert, at this point, Kamala does not get to keep both bangles. And that part, outside of anything, kind of messed with me for a second.
I'm still kind of confused about that. I'm like, did they talk about that in the movie? They did not, right?
No, they didn't.
Right.
She had him at one part, and then just all of a sudden, no.
I thought it was a fashion choice, to be honest. But in any event,
I guess
it's kind of weird, but that's really more of a. It's a slight. It runs along the lines of being more of an Easter egg for the longtime fans, right, because we all recognize the one bangle as actually being part of her costume, right, as opposed to being a mechanism or an artifact, let's say. So.
Right.
All right. Next up, the Marvel's post-credit scene surprise star Iman Vellani. Nah, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm glad to say that she was surprised that she was the one, I guess, asked to do it.
Right. I do love her quote in this, though, where she says, she said that doing this, she's had to kind of chill in her own life because, like, she has kind of held celebrities up in a certain fashion, and, just like Kamala in the movie, which is not necessarily a spoiler. She kind of learns that, like, hey, they're human. But also she has this quote here that says, "I'm not trying to give him, guess Kevin Feige, a hard time right now until I get Ms. Marvel season 2, and then maybe I'll email him another 72 questions. Yeah, I'm taking it easy. If he says the MCU is 616, I'll let him believe that." Which I thought was I had a little chuckle at that quote because she was, she was kind of going on with that, just like some of us when Feige said that. So, next up.
Alrighty. Wait, did you do the Tiana Paris one?
No.
That's the next one.
No, I did the bank.
No,
you're right. You did that one. The Marvel star Tiana Paris cried after earning part in the MCU. So yeah, she was in an interview with Rolling Stone talking about how overwhelming it was when she found out she got the part. Actually, I just found out she's from South Carolina, from Hopkins at that. So shout out to her. And also, there's a video floating around of her, getting suited into the photon suit and having much fun with that, and it is kind of a joy to see, So we love it when the stars are actually having fun and not, putting up with the crazy people and their rantings all the time. But this, yeah. Anyway, next up.
So The Watcher is set to return to season 2 of Marvel Studios' What If when the animated anthology series begins streaming on Disney Plus on December 22nd. In the spirit of the holiday season, a new episode will debut nightly for 9 nights. Those 8 crazy nights. So check out the new trailer and poster now available to share with everyone. I just watched it, didn't have time before tonight to watch it. And Roddykat gave me a couple minutes to watch it just before, just during our pre-production period before we started the show.
Yeah, and I believe the titles of the episodes are also out there, but it's not in this article. But yeah, it's some interesting stuff that was teased in that trailer, I will say. And like Agent 70 said, yes, so they're unleashing one per night, starting with this, starting on December 22nd for 9 nights, which I guess led one YouTube channel to kind of wonder how they're going to cover it. I'm like, just, it's not that serious. Chill. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. So what I'm not looking forward to, I guess, I'm not sure how it was going to be, but we come to find out that Avengers: The Kang Dynasty is no longer being directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. So I guess with,
well, it's, what's interesting is that he appears to still be working with Marvel. It's just that he's stepping away from this particular project.
Right. I believe he's still not like director, but I feel like there's something about some other involvement. He might be like not necessarily.
Well, he's doing Wonder Man, and he wants to I guess it looks like kickstart the next Shang-Chi movie.
Right. I know what I meant, but it was something in this with this particular movie I thought it was the case, but I can't remember if that's the case, and it doesn't say here. And also, this article also says that the screenwriter who was doing King Dynasty, Jeff Loveness, also left the project, which I did not know about previous to this. So, and with people are buzzing about the whole legal troubles of Jonathan Majors being the catalyst and this and that, which may be the case, but hey. We'll see what they do with this. But who's being eyed? So there was some other Fantastic Four news that I didn't put in for a reason because I wasn't sure how valid it was. But nevertheless, Pedro Pascal is being eyed to play Reed Richards in Fantastic Four. Hey, I mean, people have liked him in his other stuff, and plus, yeah. I guess if you want to, you want to check all those boxes, sure, why not? You gonna find him in Doctor Who next or something? I don't know, but wait, he's doing Gladiator 2, really? Interesting. But yeah, Pedro Pascal has pretty much has been playing the pop culture lottery with his roles lately. So there is that. Whether this will come to pass, we shall see. But at this point, and of course, Marvel has no comment, so we'll see what comes to pass from that. Next up.
So it's probably pretty likely that Chris Hemsworth is going to return for another Thor movie if they have a Thor 5, but who won't be back to direct would be Taika Waititi. He is just too busy, apparently. He told Business Insider on the red carpet for the Next Goal Wins movie, and he basically said he would not be there for Chris Hemsworth's next outing as Thor.
Right.
He's working on something that's possibly Star Wars related and the apparent adaptation of Akira, the live action adaptation of Akira.
Right, because both of those has been kind of floating around since the Love and Thunder came out. So,
right.
But I wonder where we see Korg. Is a question.
Right. And we do see, spoiler alert, we do see Korg appear in What If.
Mm-hmm. So
it's not like Taika Waititi's like cutting ties with Marvel. That's not there.
Right. So, all right, folks. Hey, guess what? If you've caught up with Loki season 2 finale, you will remember a certain line that was spoken by the title character, and apparently that line was improvised by Tom Hiddleston. Excuse me. So, there you go. If you've not caught up with it, you should check it out because that was a damn good episode.
Yeah.
And I won't say what line it was, just in case, but Sure. Hey, like I said, if you had told me that that was improvised, which you are, sure, I believe it. It makes sense. It's no what is love from WandaVision, but hey, it was still a good line. Next up.
So, Ki Hui Kwan has basically re-entered everyone's consciousness in the last few years, and it's a good thing. And now he's going to strike while the iron is hot, while he was working the Indiana Jones kind of reunion tour. Even though he wasn't part of the most recent movie, he approached Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, to try to get into Star Wars. Good for him. We need him everywhere.
Yeah. So there was another article, and I think I saw a video of him, Kathleen, talking about her. But there was another article saying that he believes that OB/Ouroboros is basically a variant of Data from the Goonies.
Ah!
And I was like, you know what? I love it, because I think you, Agent 7, even kind of mentioned something, not necessarily along the variant lines, but you definitely mentioned the Goonies in his character there. Right. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can see it. That I'm all right with that. I'm okay with that. Next up, though. All right, folks. There was a trailer for that Sony Madam Web movie yesterday, as of this recording, and it's a movie. That's a thing. So what we find out, if you haven't seen the trailer, I guess if you feel so inclined, go check it out. It has potential questions about it, but being that it's still one Sony led and two not connected to the MCU directly, I don't care as much about it. And what they're setting up here is, like I said, could be potentially interesting, but it would be more interesting if it was more directly in tune with the MCU.
Right.
So we have Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney, as Madam Web and Julia Carpenter, respectively, which kind of suggests a recent thing in the comics could potentially happen. But we shall see if that's the case. And then there's another couple of folks in there that are playing other Spider Women that is notable to some folks. And why are they all together? And and then there's also another question of when this is being when what is the time frame of this? Because there's another character that is talked about / shows up that has to do with I guess how Sony's license came to be, or the license that Sony's got is trying to keep hook or crook. Let's just say.
Right.
Weird. If they do a Golden Oldies movie, then we'll know something. But I don't think we'll see that. Oh, yeah. Anyway, next up.
Warner Brothers reverses course on Coyote versus Acme after filmmakers rebel. Really? So this is the John Cena movie, right?
This is correct. Yep.
Right. So now the studio will not allow. Right. So they reversed their decision to bury the movie because they're now going to allow director Dave Green to actually shop at the live action animation hybrid movie to other potential buyers instead of shelving the project for a tax write-off. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Hollywood Reporter has confirmed this story. Amazon is said to be a contender in the mix, with screenings for potential buyers taking place this month. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Better that the movie comes out at some point.
The movie was done just like Batgirl, but that didn't get this treatment. So I feel like this is getting this treatment because of who's in it. And that's kind of a bummer. But it was kind of weird. It's like, yeah, WB pretty much dumped it, and everybody else kind of was going, was sniffing around for it to shop around for it. and I guess they said, oh no, never mind, don't worry about this, as they just said. So, which I said a thing on Twitter about it. I'm not gonna repeat it here, but it's like this is it's kind of ridiculous. One, but also we come to find out, which I forgot to put in the article in the show notes, which I'll mention here. This whole thing got congressional heat on it because you know, I would like to believe the folks with better things to deal with in Congress, you know, at this point in time, you know, excuse me, chose to deal with this. Which, granted, there is something to it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not for nothing. But it's like, you know, I feel like there's slightly better uses of congressional time. Basically, Texas Representative Joaquin Castro calls for the Justice Department and the FTC to look into whether the studio violated antitrust guidelines in this tax write-off plan that Warner Brothers is going through when they kill this movie. You can read about that in the show notes. We're not going to go into it here. Next up
is you,
girl. Sorry, hold on. Let me. There we go. Speaking of DC news, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow finds its writer in Ana Noguera. So this there's no director attached, but Noguera's deal is only recently closed. Apparently she was quietly hired to write a Supergirl movie back in 2022. And then the Flash thing and yada yada. But yeah, so now she's doing Supergirl, and I guess she's done some other stuff that people may know about, that some of which I don't. But good for them. Next up,
DC has released the first trailer for its festive special, Merry Little Batman, ahead of its Prime Video premiere on December 8th. The trailer shows Batman's son Damian Wayne's adventures on Christmas Eve. While his dad is out fighting bad guys, Damian seeks some glory of his own, but accidentally comes across a villainous plot to steal Christmas and has to rise to the occasion and save the day. Okay.
Yeah, this weirdly had a Home Alone vibe to it. I have not seen the trailer fully, but I've seen like a piece of it, I should say, which slightly felt a little Home Alone-ish, but not really. But also the art style is different from a lot of other DC's animated fare, which has been kind of I don't want to say controversial. That's too hard of a word, but people have been, you know, one way or another about the art style. Some people like it, some people hate it. So I'm not crazy about it, but hey, it is what it is. It's a different style. Sometimes you need it. Next up, though, some sad news. Robert Butler, who I hate it when to do this. There we go. Robert Butler, who was a director on, I believe, 66 Batman and the Star Trek, the original series, has passed away at 95. So, let's see. Yeah, Butler's family announced the Helmet's passing on through his obituary in the LA Times on Saturday. He was 95. Doesn't necessarily say here what he passed on, but we can assume natural causes. And yeah, like I said, he directed 66 Batman series and a good bit of Star Trek, the original series. So there you go. Next up.
So the first model of the USS Enterprise ever used in shooting the original Star Trek series may have actually surfaced after going missing decades ago. An eBay listing of a 3-foot model of the Enterprise appeared sometime early last week and named a starting bid of $1,000. The listing was eventually removed hours after it went up, after people on social media and forums discovered it and pieced together what it likely was. Some of those enthusiasts said in the private Facebook group, private Facebook group, that they had contacted the seller suggesting it be returned to its rightful owners, which many believe to be the estate of Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry.
So now will be a time for me to bring up my toy corner, and I found this model of a ship. I don't know what it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just.
Yeah, right.
Like If you want to pay me for it, but nah, don't you wish you had it? That's something. Hey, somebody was looking to watch the Super Mario movie. Well, it's coming to Netflix on December 3rd.
Hey,
there you go. Also, there was a trailer for a Garfield movie that Chris Pratt is also voicing the character of, and I'm like, why? But I didn't put it in the show notes. I mean, I didn't put it in the thing because also why? For the love of God, stop giving that man. Anyway, next up.
John Wick fans should note that while John Wick 5 is on hold until filmmaker Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves can crack a new story, that doesn't mean John Wick the franchise is staying idle. So the mythology continues to grow and the world building continues to evolve. Apparently, in the Discourse podcast, Stahelski said that he talked about the recent prequel show, The Continental, but Stahelski was not very involved in that series. Instead, he revealed he's getting much more hands-on with another totally separate John Wick TV series spinoff that he is developing that is not only trying to bridge cinema and TV and include more action, but expands the characters and world building of the John Wick universe. Okay.
It also is funny because I know he has a hand in that that other anime that whatchamacallit is doing. That he's doing the action scenes for. So it's like, yeah, he's dipping his. I feel like he dipped his toes in the anime world for that, so he could do this.
Right.
So, but we'll see how both of those comes out. And by the way, that puts us directly into the anime corner. Of which this next article is not in the anime corner, so I don't know why I put it here. But Exploding Kitties teaser unveils Tom Ellis as God in cat form. So Exploding Kitties is a board game, card-based board game.
Let kitties eat you. I'm kidding.
Right, but yes, it's based on the animated show is going to be an adult. More of an adult show, and like I said, it is based off of the card game of the same name, Exploding Kitty, which I know some people really, really like, but I've never played, so I don't know that much about it. Tagline here is, an adventure of ungodly proportions begins, meow! Because you kind of have to have that cat, the cat pun. I see a couple of interesting names here, such as Lucy Liu and Shahir Zamata, as well as Tom Ellis. Yes, Lucifer's Tom Ellis. If you're wondering. So there you go. Next up is.
So we are now in Anime Corner. So Netflix has unleashed a badass trailer for its now current original animated project, Blue Eye Samurai. I've seen the first episode. It is very good. So check that out. You can check out the trailer and then check out Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw a piece of it during the Geek Week stuff last weekend, and it looks interesting. So I'm definitely gonna have to check it out at some point. So. Next up, though, One Piece anime makes a big change to episode release schedule, because that show's probably never going to end. It's going to be like The Simpsons. According to this article, One Piece episodes will launch at 6 p.m. Pacific. So, as opposed to whenever it was premiering any other time. So I'm pretty sure One Piece fans already got that and are doing the due diligence for that. Next up.
So apparently Undead Unluck brings in SpongeBob SquarePants for a wild anime cameo. So SpongeBob made his surprising anime debut with a wild cameo in the latest episode of Undead Unluck's anime. Okay. So I have not watched Undead Unluck. Is it? It's available on Hulu.
I believe that's the case. Yeah, I have not either.
Okay.
So, sorry, I was just looking up something out of curiosity here, but okay, never mind. Let's see. My Hero Academia reveals. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We're getting over into the manga corner now.
Transmute.
So I didn't do that right. It's supposed to do the little hand motion, but it's
Yeah.
right. So anyway, My Hero Academia reveals the name of One for All's second user. And this is, I guess, spoilers for chapter 406 of the manga, which I am going to assume Agent 70 is caught up on.
No, I am not caught up on this, but it's on my list. It's definitely downloaded to my Shonen Jump app.
Which I'm going to take the time, speaking of that, so we know Agent 70 is now fully locked in on Shonen Jump. And also Comixology, which we'll get some news about that a little bit later. But I'm going to remind folks that, hey, if you got a library card and the app Hoopla and or Libby, they have a lot of this manga at your library that you can check out, and anime and whatnot. So and comic books actually, because I think I bookmarked the Invincible stuff to possibly go through, and that's in there. Just need a library card. Ding. Anyway, next up is still my hero news. My Hero Academia reveals secret power behind Bakugo's new power. Again, this is from chapter 406, which I know Agent 70 just said he is not caught up on. So
Yes, I am far behind.
So I saved him a read of that.
Yeah, but check this out though: the complete 1970s Marvel Godzilla, the original Marvel years series, is going to be released in an omnibus. I think we had news about this before, but now we know exactly when it's supposed to come out. Marvel Comics is going to release Godzilla, the original Marvel years omnibus, including all 24 issues of the 1977 Godzilla comic series, in collaboration with Toho International in October 2024. That's pretty cool. I have the first issue. I bought it as a back issue for like pennies or whatever. I'm very happy to have it. I have the original black and white omnibus. I'm glad that they're putting it out now in color.
Right. And it says here that there's going to be guest appearance, including the Avengers, which I feel like I remember there was an issue of the Avengers where Godzilla popped in on or something, but vaguely. The FF and, of course, Devil Dinosaur, because of course.
Of course.
So that'll be neat to check out when that comes out, which is, when does it say?
October 2024.
Thank you. Miles Morales faces off against Venom in Giant Size Spider-Man variant cover. So yeah, this is the variant cover for Giant Size Spider-Man #1. Ji Young Lee is the artist on said variant cover. If you're watching the video version, you can see it there. I feel like this could also double as an Aliens variant cover, but yeah. But that's going to go on sale January 10th if anyone is interested. Next up.
So many Spider-Man fans, including myself, regard the animated series The Spectacular Spider-Man as one of the best Spidey adaptations in any medium, which makes the series' untimely cancellation all the more unfortunate. So there is apparently a silver lining to the story, though, because now producer Greg Weisman is returning to Marvel Comics to pen a new book called The Spectacular Spider-Men, which will focus on both Peter Parker and Miles as they share the mantle of Spider-Man. So this is basically set in the current Marvel continuity, I'm assuming. And the cool thing is that it's going to be drawn by veteran Amazing Spider-Man artist Humberto Ramos. So you know that people are going to be looking at this and recognizing the art, and they'll probably pick it up for that. And I'm happy to see that Weisman is back in the Spider-Man corner of the Marvel Universe.
Spectacular, spectacular.
That's funny. I still miss that show. It's such a great show.
It is a pretty good show. Agent 70, we talked about it a while ago, and that is all out there on Disney Plus, so you can watch it. But yeah, that was.
We do have a date of release. Spectacular Spider-Man #1 will be released on March 6th, 2024.
So it was my impression of this, because Weissman's writing this, that it was, even though it does not say that here, and Agent 70 is probably more right than not. I had assumed that it was taking up after the show and just adding Miles to it somehow. So it was going to be in that universe, but yeah, it seems that it's probably going to be in continuity. So, hey, great. No problem here. Storm's mutant magic just unleashed a kaiju on the Marvel Universe. This is, I guess, spoilers for X-Men Red 17, which, now that I think about it, I have not read. But yeah, apparently Storm embraces her magical side, and which I'm assuming slightly also came in handy, or would have come in handy in this week's Immortal Thor.
Right.
Had it been a little stronger, but yeah, this whole Genesis War thing is still going on in that book, so yeah, catch it. Next up.
Yeah, I was about to say that's from last week.
Right.
So, spoilers, the X-Men just recruited the Avengers' most underrated powerhouse. So, yeah.
Look, I love the OG Guardians of the Galaxy. You will never find, well, you will probably find a bigger fan, but nevertheless, young Vance Astro, who is the subject of this, when he was on the Avengers with Firestar, and apparently they had dated, I guess, because they were together a whole lot, is the focus of this. And I'm feeling like, underrated, okay. I don't know, powerhouse, sure. I don't know about all that. He was just kind of
right, like he's not Jean Grey. You know, but he's powerful.
Right. Now
it's funny that, like, if you look at it, obviously because Jean has the TK and the telepathy.
Right.
He's just got the TK, but he's supposed to be one of the most powerful TK users out there.
Oh, he definitely ends up being that case when he cooks.
Yeah,
for
by the time he gets to
years.
Guardians, right?
Right. When he cooks for 1,000 years in stasis and comes back out, but which, man, I want to go back and revisit that run, because I love that the OG Guardians. Anyway, so yeah, this is, and this I can't remember if Agent 70 said or not, but yeah, this is that Marvel Infinity book, X-Men Unlimited.
I didn't say that. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So that is not a physical book. That is the like I said, the Marvel Unlimited book, which I've read some of which, but I hadn't kept up with a lot of that, because they put those things out often. Anywho's, what the heck is going on with this? Oh, interesting. Damn it, screen wrap. Okay. Anyway, one founding X-Men hero can destroy Thanos solo, according to Marvel. And hey, guess what? We just talked about that said person, because apparently this has something to do with that original X-Men story that we know is coming up next month, and with the original 5. And I'm gonna let you guess who that particular person is yourself.
Someone we just talked about.
Exactly. So let you figure that out for yourself. Next up.
So Polaris returns to save mutant kind from annihilation, wielding her magnetic powers and bringing the celestial nowhere with her. The upcoming fall of the House of X and rise of the powers of 10 will close out the Krakoan era of the X-Men and usher in a new age for Marvel's Merry Mutants. So Polaris is Krakoa's last hope against Orcus, and she dons a Magneto-inspired costume to honor her father and his heroic legacy, displaying her impressive feats of magnetism to save the X-Men! Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Hey, it's Magneto Tartar. What you expect? Speaking of, hey, Marvel unveils new details on all of X-Men's titles. Of that particular one is one of for February 2024. So this includes Cable, Dead X-Men, the Resurrection of Magneto, and the Fall of X and the Rise of Powers of X. So, which according to this article, those last two sees the X-Men taking the fight directly to Nimrod. So yeah, there you go. Let's see, scrolling through Cable. There's Cable 204. There's Dead X-Men 204. I think, well, it looks like all of these books will have already started in January, but they're just highlighting them for February for some reason. Oh, okay. Hey, X-Men 49 looks to be one I will probably check out. Because it's a team up, looks like a team up with Wonder Man and Beast.
Yeah, they might be doing something to rehabilitate the Beast's character.
Good. Because I hated asshole Beast.
He's been pretty annoying for a long time.
Yeah, so they need to do something. I missed the bubbly bouncing blue Beast.
Yeah,
of Avengers era. But anyway, there's a lot of titles they're talking about here amongst those that we mentioned. So we will be talking about those when that happens. Next up.
All right. Next up, the Marvel Universe is about to get a new Ghost Rider. So this past Monday, Marvel teased the arrival of a new Ghost Rider series, and with it, a new character becoming the Spirit of Vengeance. So despite the character having an ongoing series active right now, Marvel is rebooting it with a new #1 issue come March. Benjamin Percy will continue writing the series as Marvel newcomer Danny Kim will take over art duties from the committee of artists that have worked on the current ongoing. That's interesting. I mean, it's nice that Ben Percy still gets to keep going on it. They just wanted to give the mantle to somebody new.
Right. And I guess it's going to lead into something significant.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of Robbie Reyes, which is, just annoying. That they got rid of him. Like they couldn't do something with the character.
Right, they really did. So damn you, Jason Aaron. Anyway, ruin a marriage and not. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, actually, I'm not really kidding. A Marvel reboot of the NAM. Speaking of Jason Aaron, actually, Jason Aaron wanted to do a reboot of the NAM. But Marvel said no, but he pretty much kind of did it anyway over at DC. According to this article, this is he was talking at Thought Bubble, said that he pitched the NAM reboot, which was a Vietnam military book from Marvel from back in the 80s. Yeah, like I remember. I don't think I ever read it. I think my brother did though. But
I mean, it was being done not in parallel to, but like, around the same time that G.I. Joe was going on. So,
right.
It was like, if you want, kind of fake military stuff, there's G.I. Joe. Kind of more realistic military stuff, here's the NAM.
Right. And MASH was still a thing back then also. So, but yeah. He kind of says that he was successful telling a story, but basically he pitched it to Marvel. They didn't like it, so he made it into a DC vertical series called The Other Side, which I think is pretty much done already. So it still got life regardless. Next up.
So speaking of Jason Aaron, apparently, in looking back on his 2 years on Marvel's Star Wars book, he now says that he was surprised that they were able to add so much to the official Star Wars canon through the comic book stories, and says it was probably only because Lucasfilm was distracted at the time. I love it.
Right. I'm not gonna lie, I was too, because I was like, because we know a lot of the stuff, because we know Star Wars had to have. There was only so much they could do because they had points that they had to get to.
Right.
So adding to the story and putting a whole lot of stuff in here, such as Han Solo's wife, Sana Staros, by the way, as one of them, who is still a character that's around, luckily, and is a great character. But yeah, that's it's interesting to know, and probably not surprising, because I was like, yeah, I'm kind of surprised they let him get away with that also. Anywho's, Speaking of Star Wars, after 43 years, Star Wars reveals Lobot's real purpose of the franchise. I guess, which I just read this. Actually, wait, did I finish reading this? I think I did. So yeah, this is from Star Wars 40, which came out like probably a couple of weeks ago, or at this point. And then during this whole Dark Droids thing, which is also still going on, which there was a an issue of Dark Droids and Dr. Aphra that just came out with actually the Son of Star Wars in it, funnily enough. So there you go. But apparently, yes, I did read this. I remember reading this part. So basically, in a flashback, we see Lando and Lobot pretty much talking about Lando. Well, Lobot was pretty much having an issue with the fact that Lando could just lie so well and keep up with everything, and kind of had some doubts about their friendship, and Lando pretty much assured him like, no, somebody gotta have somebody to tell the truth to, and you, my friend, are that person. So he's basically Lando's anchor, so to speak. So there you go. Next up,
a new Funko Pop basically confirms the new title of Tom Hiddleston's Loki. Spoiler alert for Loki Season 2, Episode 6.
Yeah. I mean, he's always going to be the god of stories at this point for me.
Yes, he's destined with a glorious purpose.
Exactly. But it was good looking. Oh wait, did I? Oh yeah, Disney Lorcana. Luckily for me, I got this because I know Agent 70 would. But yes, Disney Lorcana has a new set coming out, and apparently
already,
it's coming out soon. Yeah, they've been reissuing the first set, and this new set's coming out. I mean, that's kind of how this thing works. Like, new sets kind of keep things fresh. But I do agree with her. Like, yeah, the thing hasn't been out since what, August.
Right. What I was going to say is, it seems like it was just yesterday that you were complaining that you were probably not going to be able to get like much of the first set.
And I'm still complaining because I still haven't gotten any of the first set. So that checks out. So yeah, that's the whole thing. But yeah, basically this article is previewing a card, which is a Jiminy Cricket card. If you're watching the video version of this program, you can see it right here. There's some very good art continuing to be in this stuff, and I still want these cards, and I still haven't. Yeah. Anyway, next up. Come on, there we go. Hey, folks.
I was going to say 3 is proud to announce the release of MDLX Sideswipe, a redesigned version of the brash young Autobot warrior. So MDLX is a series of articulated figures capturing the spirit of 3's renowned DLX series at a smaller scale with a similar high range of articulation and enhanced durability, all at a groundbreaking, affordable price, quote unquote.
I mean, compared to Masterpiece Transformers, yeah. And apparently this is like the third collaboration between MDLX, who I'm not sure who or what that is, or 3-0. I'm not sure who the hell that is or what that is, but I think there was a Megatron and another one. So this is the first time hearing about it for me. But it's a good looking figure. That's the bottom line of it. So if you're watching the viewer version, you can see it. And
yeah, I mean, for $80.
Yeah, and coming with all the stuff that it comes with, that's pretty good. That's almost masterpiece worthy.
Yeah.
So. Next up, though,
does it transform?
Yes, I believe it does. Actually, yeah.
They just don't show a picture of it. That's all.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that also.
So I'm like literally scrolling through. I'm like, I don't see it as a car.
You're right, because they don't really talk about. Oh no, it says it with a high similar range of articulation, but that's pretty much as far as it goes.
No, but that's like movement. I'm looking for like actual transformed.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Yeah, it's like, but luckily, diecast construction. Haha. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't say here, so that is intriguing. Yeah, I don't know. I have to research that. Nevertheless. What if the original team of Power Rangers never separated? Well, the original Pink Ranger is going to bring that up because this was a Kickstarter thing. I'm pretty sure we've probably talked about previously. and a team up with Hasbro and Boom Studios is wherein A.B. Joe Johnson is going to write the series where the original team stayed together, as opposed to what's going on in the book now, is they're like scattered to the wind and Trini's still alive and all kind of things going on that I don't think is canon, but it is what it is. But yeah, and let's see, do we have a time frame of when this is going to happen, if it happens? Yes, February 7th is the release date for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return by Amy Jo Johnson, Matt Hodson, and Nico Leon. So there you go. Next up.
Image Comics has restructured its sales department to include the addition of Margot Wood as a new vice president. Wood is the new VP of book market sales, reporting to Image publisher and CCO Eric Stevenson. In that role, she's going to oversee Image's book channel sales and the relationship with Simon & Schuster, its book market distributor. Okay.
Some would say she would if she could.
Oh.
I know, that was terrible. I'm sorry. Not really. Last but not least, and some very bummer news for me that I saw firsthand before this article, Amazon to merge digital comics platform Comixology with Kindle app, which means that it's effectively killing off, well, let me rephrase that, officially and totally killing off the Comixology brand / app, because yeah, they already bought it and fucked it up, and this is where we are now. So RIP to Comixology.
Is there a timetable on this?
December 4th.
Ah, thank you.
Yes, because I loaded up Comixology like 2 days ago and saw the message come up saying, "Hey, we are merging with Kindle book." As a matter of fact, I think I tweeted about it. We're merging with the Kindle app on this day, and yeah, that's it.
Well, we'll see we'll see if it picks up where I leave off on Attack on Titan.
Oh, it should. I mean, all of that should, according to this should be the case. Supposedly, everything should be as it was. It's just that they're just folding it in, because you could already read your books on the Kindle app.
Right. That's my understanding too. Is like, because as a Comixology Unlimited person, I should be able to do it. And I think I tried it, but I have other things open on my Kindle, like actual books open on my Kindle.
Right. Which is the other thing that kind of bummed me out about it. Was like, you know what? The separation was good. Like, yes, comics are a book and this and that, the other, but I was like, no, the Kindle app was always separate because it was just novel books or whatever, as opposed to the Comixology stuff and Comixology Unlimited. But again, they fucked over Comixology. So that in itself is the real fuckery in all of this. To be honest. So yeah. So if you still have the Comixology app on your phones, hey, and you don't like the way it is now, guess what? You ain't got longer to deal with that, because it's gonna go away.
Sounds good to me.
No, it's not good. It's just not good at all. Anyway,
I mean, I think it's on the clunky side.
Well, yeah,
I don't like the fact that they're gonna merge it and everything's gonna be on the one Kindle app. But I get the efficiency of it, I kind of do.
Right. But if they had just left things the way they were, just let them run the thing, it was doing fine. They did not have to change stuff. And they did. Yeah. And that's why it got clunky, because of that. So anyway, that is it for the news section, folks. One last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night is for the folks who messed up Comixology. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
Hey, look, I'm still talking shit about the ad. I don't care what that, despite if we have an article, it's not like we see any of that money anyway. So, folks, this, we have come to another end of another fine show. Next week, is Thanksgiving. So I believe. Wait, did we come down? We talked about this before the show. We talked about this during the week as to how this goes. There may be a show. There may not be a show.
We're trying to figure it out because obviously with Thanksgiving falling literally on a Thursday when we normally record, we come up on this problem pretty much every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've sometimes not done a show at all because we were, sometimes out of town. I will be out of town, or at least doing some parts of Thanksgiving out of town. I don't know when I'll be able to record. Roddykat and I will be in contact and try to figure that out. Stay checking your socials, stay checking our socials, and we'll try to post when we're going to go up. Make sure to click like and subscribe on all this stuff so that when we might be, especially on the video feed, so that when we'll be up recording. I will say that I definitely need some time off. Pretty tired.
Yes.
So
Agent 7 has been huffing it with all the volleyball and actual work between that. So.
And life and stuff.
Yeah.
So pretty tired.
Volleyball is life. So didn't the Haikyuu teach you that?
That's right.
But that being said, like I said, like Agent 7 said, stay tuned to the socials and we'll figure it out. That if we don't do a show, then I will probably put another one up, another old evergreen one up on the Twitch channel, because it's already up on YouTube, so I don't really have to do that. Excuse me, for folks to check out, and we'll go from there. Regardless, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter, News Nerds Need on Twitter, and TBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. PC_Dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com is all the umbrella sites they're in. And TimDOGG98 on Twitter, CB Chron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account, the Kliq Nation on Twitter, thekliqnation.com, and of course, he's over at comicbook.com under Timothy Adams, writing his face off. Go check out the man's works. You could find this here podcast on the Cold Slizzer Podcast Network, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, I almost had it. Google Play, Apple iTunes, podcast, all that, SoundCloud, and all your other podcast perusal places of choice. You could find us, possibly with the exception next week, recording every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on the channel of the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/thekliqnation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews.
Oh, hey, that Adam. Speaking of that, Invincible Adam Eve video game came out, and I might pop on sometime this weekend to kick that around on the Twitch channel. So stay tuned to my socials to see if that actually happens, if and or when that actually happens, because I keep threatening to do that, and there's a lot I want to do. With that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.